welcome to the Science Faction Podcast, where science meets fact meets fiction.
This is Science Faction for the week of January 4th, 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Dominguez, and with me today, two people. They survived. They're here in 2025 with us.
Yo, I'm Benjamin Daniel Ellis. I guess I survived. Yes, I'm here.
Devin Kraft.
Yeah, good job, guys. You did it. You went
Thanks.
all the way around the sun one more time. Let's celebrate.
One more time.
Hooray.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, so that's it. All right, good night, everyone.
Yeah, that's it. We did it.
We did it.
Congratulations.
If you want to hear the full podcast, pay for the other episodes on Patreon.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
We're part of the
Subscribe to us on
problem,
Patreon.
aren't we?
That's the only way you're going to get our content.
Are we part of the problem, Devin?
No,
I'm feeling like we're part of the problem.
We'd be part of the problem if we had ads in this like every 10 minutes. And we said, well, if you don't want the ads, well, then pay $30 to listen ad free. Then we'd be part of the problem.
I don't know if we'd be part of the problem at that point because nobody would pay for it. So
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
we'd just be shooting ourselves in the foot
even
more.
We're
But
not, we're not popular.
if we were a popular podcast.
Yeah. If. That's fine. Just so that people know what the heck we're talking about. If you're a patron, we talked a lot about streaming and ads and money and stuff pre-pod. So if you're interested in that kind of talk, you know where to go. But that's not where we are now. We're somewhere else now. Devin typed something in. Devin, tell us about Red One. What is Red One? Are you standing by? Are you waiting for 5? What's going on? What is that?
Well, I didn't have anything to talk about for real life, really. It's something we do on the podcast.
This podcast that we're doing now?
Before we all talk about something about a real life, then we get on to the rest of the show.
Yeah.
I didn't really have anything, and then I just remembered we watched the movie Red One a couple nights ago. You're not familiar with the movie at all, Steven?
No, I saw a trailer and I was like, well, that's interesting. It was one of those that like it looked like it was either one going to be terrible or two entertaining in kind of a dumb way, which is fine. That's acceptable. But it wasn't something I was going to go out of my way to watch. So how was it?
Well, yeah, no, I wouldn't have. It was just Jen's dad is in town, so we kind of watch different things. Just it was something we felt like everyone would at least enjoy somewhat. Although that just reminded me, the night before that, we watched Quiet Place Day One.
Oh, okay.
Which was actually pretty good.
Oh, all right.
So really, I should probably talk about that instead. But no, Red One. If you haven't seen it, any trailers or anything about it, or you've only seen the trailer, it's pretty much a Christmas movie, but it's also an action movie. And
so it's Die Hard.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, The Rock plays Santa's bodyguard, and Chris Evans plays. It's kind of he's not even really a bad guy. He's hired by the bad guys to do some things, and then in the course of trying to figure out what happened, Santa gets kidnapped. In the course of trying to find that, they find Chris Evans, and he joins the good guys, and it's kind of an adventure to try to find and save Santa. But the whole aesthetic of it is treating Christmas as more of a military operation. Might not be the best word, but like a very high-tech, state-of-the-art operation. So there's kind of there is certainly magic, but the sleigh has a big which looks like a fusion reactor or something. Although I think it's actually where they store the presents, which are miniaturized, and then they make them bigger. But that's the thing. So it's like trying to have a serious look at what it would take to complete an operation such as we attribute to Santa Claus.
Okay, so it's like, okay, if we've got Santa and we know he needs to go to X number of houses every night, how can we rectify that without just saying magic?
I mean, and the thing is, there obviously is some magic, and that's kind of the point of the story is Santa is kidnapped in order to harness his magic, but and to explain all this weirdness and the existence of Santa and other things, there is a government organization that kind of is in charge of fantastical things.
Whose government?
They call it's a multinational organization, so it's not just like the U.S. or something, but they don't say the UN. So it's just like it's a shadow. It's a lot like the Men in Black.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, actually, that's a good comparison. Take all of that and make a movie that is way too serious. There's an attempt at comic relief here and there, but not nearly the way it should have been. And like Men in Black is a good example of how to do it right. Like you have such an absurd premise.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just have it be like a standard action movie with, there's one quip here and there that's supposed to be kind of funny. You've got to go all out wacky if you're going to do this. Like it's kind of a slog. It's not clever. I mean, more than just like, there's a lot of hard work put into the look of it and like certain things, but the story is just like so standard and predictable. But yeah, I mean, like it's the kind of thing where if you have family over and you can't agree what to watch and it's Christmas, like sure, put it on. You won't be too bored. But
we were joking around here a couple days ago about whether we should start a new television show called Something. And it's just like, hey, you just need to find something to watch. Here, let's just throw something on.
It's just like people walking around quipping things with a laugh track. Just like, I just have noise in the background.
I don't know. It could really be anything, right?
Maybe, Devin. Sorry, Ben. I'm done with your joke.
Yeah.
Devin. So rude. Did the kids watch Red One with you guys?
No, it was no.
Oh, so
it was
just for
too
the
old
adults
for our kids. I think it's PG-13.
Oh, okay. It's not even for kids. Okay. We watched.
Well, and if you want to get an idea, watch the pitch meeting for it. And one of the main things he points out at the beginning, which is very obvious, is the whole who is this for? It's not for kids. It's not for adults. Teenagers wouldn't think it's cool. So like, why does this exist? What demographic were you expecting to enjoy this?
Okay. We ended up watching The Santa Claus, and the kids loved it. That was because that one is like that one. If you guys remember, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it leans into like Christmas magic is just magic. Like we're not going to explain this. It's magic. Move on. That's not what it's about. It's about a father-son relationship. Blah blah blah. And like the jokes are goofy. They're for kids. My littlest one, who's 6, was cracking up every few minutes. And that was like a perfect family Christmas movie because it talks about the premise of like Santa's not real, but then obviously Santa is real because the movie is about Santa being real, and and it's not like super involved. It's a pretty simple plot, and it's just right for a Christmas movie. I hadn't seen it in years. I can't even remember the last time I saw it, but yeah, the kids were like, "This is great."
Nice.
And then a few nights later, we watched. Well, I was busy. I was like cooking dinner and stuff, but they watched Elf. And that one, like the little one, she did not get the demographic for that one was aged up a bit. And so she didn't think it was all that great, but the 10-year-old did. So, what are you going to do?
We watched, when we were in Oregon, we watched Home Alone. And I was expecting our kids to go to bed, but they ended up staying up and watching it. And, the beginning part with his family, there's a lot of things where kids are calling each other names and stuff, and it's pretty crude. And we're like, I don't know about this for our kids.
Yeah.
But they ended up watching it. So And before the end, like the last act, Jen's like, "Well, I should put him to bed. I don't know if they should see, all the violence and stuff." And I'm like, "That's the whole point of it.
That's the good part.
You can't wait this long and then like not get to see what the movie is actually about." And even everyone there, my family, were like, "Yeah, it's fine." And so we watched it, and I have never heard Nolan laugh so much and so uncontrollably.
A bad
It was
guy.
pretty awesome. He was just could not, like, the loudest, like like every slapstick thing that happened. It was like the funniest thing in the world. I'm like, that's the result you're supposed to have.
Yeah,
That's
like
right.
bad guy adults getting hurt in wacky ways. That's the best.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's what our presidency should be about. All right, let's move on from Christmas. And I'm going to move on in this way. Today we cleaned up Christmas. We killed Christmas today.
Oh, dang.
Took it out back.
Took it out back, loaded the shotgun, 2 to the dome, just to be safe.
Always double tap.
You double tap. Yep, that's one of the rules. Yeah, it was the weekend after New Year's is our tradition to clean up. So, yes, scraped the tree clean, went around the house and all the little tchotchkes and nonsense, boxed them all up, which is one. By the way, last night, for Christmas, my youngest was gifted a book called it was one of them. You guys know what Grumpy Monkey?
No.
Okay, so there is a series of books called Grumpy Monkey with Jim Pansy, and he is grumpy about something. And throughout the course of the book, he's just like, "No, I'm just grumpy just 'cause," and then kind of comes to terms with it, but like is not cheered up by the end. Just kind of like, all right, sometimes you can be grumpy. Well, there's a grumpy Christmas one, and they read it last night, and I was listening, and I laughed more than I've laughed in a very long time because I was on the monkey side. It's like, this stinks, and I was like, yes, it does stink. Anyways, it's that was really funny. Anyway, so today we cleaned up Christmas. That's gone. It's done. So I'm happy. The last one more little thing I want to talk about. I've been reading a book called Future Noir. And it is the story of how the movie Blade Runner came to be. And yeah, and it is in depth. I'm about halfway through it. It's like a 400-page book or something. I'm a little more than halfway through it, and it goes from the producers who read "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?" By Philip K. Dick. Like, for them going like, wow, we should make a movie out of this, to like getting the screenwriters and talking to Philip K. Dick and like, and then finding a director, or like, every little nuanced thing. And it is tremendously interesting. I'm at the point now where they've gone through, they filmed everything. They talked about the effects. They've talked about troubles on the set. They've talked about money problems. Like that, the story of how that movie came to be is incredible. And the chapter I just read was all about the narration, like how it came to be and why, and all of the things surrounding it. So the theatrical cut, there's a bunch of different cuts too, and there's reasons for them. But the theatrical cut has a narration by Harrison Ford that just sounds like really flat and uninspired. And so that leads to a bunch of people thinking like, one, why was the narration even needed? Two, why is it so bad? Like, was it forced by the studio? And like all this stuff. And like the little interesting bit is, there's a few interesting bits, but the narration was always part of the script. Like, they wanted it in there from the beginning so that the movie would emulate like the old 1940s, 1950s like detective type movies. But then the first two screenings, from a work print of the movie, a lot of the responses from people were just confused. They were like, what even happened in this movie? And by like, I think it was like 20 to 30% of the people were just like confused, where another like 20 to 30% was like, this was a genius movie and it was fantastic. Well, because the movie was over budget and anyways, they were like, hey, we got to put something in this movie to clear up, what's going on so people enjoy this movie. And so it's one of those weird things where it's like, well, the narration was always supposed to be there. They just hadn't done it yet. But then there were complaints, and so then they put the narration in. It was like, it's like this weird back and forth, and then they had to record the narration 3 different times, and the one that was used was the 3rd time it was recorded, which Harrison Ford was just like, really? We're a 3rd time? Like, we got to do this again? Which, and he swears that, like, he didn't try to sabotage it on purpose. He was doing like how he was directed to do the narration, but it just sounds awful, and anyways, the book Future Noir, it's amazing, and it's like the one I have, I want to say, is the 3rd version. The writer is this dude who has been like interviewing, like he talked to Philip K. Dick and to Ridley Scott and Harrison Ford, like all these people. He's this, I don't know who this guy is, but he's a journalist of some sort, and so he has all these firsthand accounts. In this book, Future Noir is just putting all this stuff together. And as time goes on, and he like got stuff wrong in earlier versions, and now he's corrected them in this version, and like new interviews, and it's just super interesting. If you're a Blade Runner fan at all, pick it up, check it out, because it's got everything you'd ever want to know about this book, or about the movie in this book. It's really, really good.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, like that reminds me, your discussion about the narration reminds me about Dark City and the narration that happens at the beginning of that film in the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
And how it
spoiled the plot.
Well, yeah, like, but it's that idea of like, if you're meant to be confused by the beginning of that film, but it didn't test well. So they added, Kiefer Sutherland recorded this little narration that's like, hey, yes, here's what's going on. Now on to
They didn't give him a script. They were just like, here, just tell it what the hell's going on in this movie. Just give us a few paragraphs.
What do you think's going on, Kiefer?
I guess this is what's happening.
Yeah, but then if you check the director's cut, it's removed. And it's funny though, because a lot of other things were changed in the director's cut that I can't tell you which one is my preferred version of the film. Both of them have good things and both of them have bad things. But narration, and like, it's nice to hear that there's a precedent for it in terms of noir, because noir is all about narration,
But and narration that's not just like, so one of the examples in Future Noir, the book I was talking about, when the different screenwriters were talking about like how they would write their narration versus how it was asked to be written. Like, you don't have a character walk into a room, pick up a spoon, have the narration be, I walked into the room, I picked up a spoon. Like, it has to be like the classical narration talks about the internal feelings and reasonings behind the character, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is how picking up this spoon made me feel this way, or the reason why the spoon was there was because, these plot reasons. Like, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And by the way, when I was feverish a couple weeks back, I watched something on YouTube that was about Dark City. It was like a Dark City retrospective.
Nice.
And I meant to mention it to you guys, but I was out of it, and I don't even remember half of what I watched. But I do remember they talked about the narration and how the director's cut of Dark City is like the one to watch. The theatrical cut's no good.
I mean, for that reason, it's the one to watch. But there's like the way that the director's cut is edited removes some of the stuff that's so special about the theatrical cut, and also adds in some scenes that are frankly a little distracting. So it's like there's a lot of good in both of them, and I don't, like if I were gonna make a fan edit, I would splice together the ideas from both of them and make my perfect fan edit of the film.
You should do
But
that.
it's a good reason to watch it more than once. Get both of them.
Sure.
It's the best film ever.
Watch it so many times. Get to Shell Beach. What
Right,
else happened
yeah.
to you this past week, Ben? Tell us.
Well, Christmas came and it was great, but right around the end of the day, my son had a really juicy cough.
Oh,
So-
don't say juicy. That's gross.
Yeah, well, I mean, the cough was gross too, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that is the nicest and most descriptive adjective I could consider. But
Ooh.
anyhow, we had like big plans of like, oh, hey, we'll go and do some day trips and do some other stuff. Well, we just kind of stayed in for the week between Christmas and New Year's. And, but the Monday before New Year's, I think I probably mentioned this on the last, did I mention this?
I
when
think
we
you did a
talked about
little
this?
bit. Yeah.
Yeah, he had
sounds familiar.
he had walking pneumonia. So anyhow, that's meant that like I've been able to work on some other projects around the house, other digital projects. But I got into this game that's been on my wish list for a long time, and I saw that it was $2 on sale at a third-party Steam retailer, and so I picked it up. It's called Inertial Drift, and it's a video game. It's a driving video game.
Okay.
It
Do you
is
drift?
like
Do you drift in this game?
all the time. You're drifting all the time. It's incredible. But really what comes down to is what makes this special
Mhm.
is aside from the fact that it looks good, it sounds good, it's got like a really neat neon anime aesthetic that just works really well for it. The way you control it is fascinating because your left stick controls your front wheels and your right stick controls your back wheels.
Oh, that is interesting.
So,
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Huh.
So starting drifts basically involves you using both sticks to adjust your path, and it's got a bunch of cars in it. Every car drives differently,
Yeah.
so you're kind of learning the ins and outs of every car, not just from like a stat perspective of, oh, this has more acceleration or a higher top speed, but really how they activate their drift and how they come out of drifts and how you can, what you do for each car in order to optimize your runs on these tracks.
Okay. Okay.
It's like, if that sounds at all interesting to you, it is way better than how I'm describing it. And and while it may not be $2 anymore, I will have a link to the isthereanydeal.com page for it, as well as for it on Steam. I think usually it's like $20, so I got it 90% off. But
That's a
if you're
deal
like,
right there.
yeah, if you want to know how it plays, they have a prologue or like a demo that's like free
Oh.
called Inertial Drift Sunset Prologue.
Okay.
And so you can try it out. They've got a couple cars and a couple tracks on there. That's and yeah, I recommend it. It's pretty sweet.
I'm gonna check that out.
Good game.
That sounds fun. But I don't have sticks on my computer.
Your Steam Deck will run it really good, dude.
Okay. All right.
That's actually how I've been running it. And playing around with both the touchpads as well as the sticks.
Oh.
And how
Okay.
on my Steam controller as well. I mean, I'm just saying, it's some good stuff there.
Sounds
but
great.
on top of that, I also found out recently, 311 came out with a new album, just in October. It's okay.
Oh.
There's some bangers on there,
Neat.
but it's not like total hit. It's not all killer no failure. But I also found that they covered the Offspring's Self-Esteem.
That's amazing.
and then also, because they were on tour together, the Offspring covered 311's Down.
No.
And they released both of them as singles.
That's amazing.
So give it an earful. We'll have links to where you can listen to it. You can hear on YouTube or on any of the streaming services.
If you're old men like us and know who 311 and the Offspring are, you'll love this.
It occurred to me recently that like when we were growing up and they were talking about oldies music, like that's as far back as like the heyday of 311 and Offspring were to us now. I'm talking about oldies, y'all. You're welcome.
All right. While all of this talk about Santa and Blade Runner and 311 and The Offspring has been fascinating, we need to talk about some things that are either in the future or in the now.
Now.
So I want to hear from, let's see, which one of these? Devin. I want to know about what happened here, because this sounds just mwah.
All right. Well, this is now, I guess, the future and now thing. And I'm using an article from IFL Science that was published on December 17th, 2024. The title is Flat Earthers Travel to Antarctica to Test Theories But Are Quickly Humbled.
Yes! I love it. I love it.
So, I think we all know what flat earthers are. People who either genuinely believe or maybe are just trolls who say that the Earth is actually flat, not a globe or oblate spheroid, as it is actually the case. So, excuse me, man. I was just drinking some carbonated beverage, and now I'm burping.
Devin is so drunk right now. Was it
Dr. Pepper?
It's Dr. Pepper Zero.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
For years, I went without drinking any soda, even diet sodas, and then the last few months I relapsed.
Man? Why'd you relapse?
You know, I had the same thing happen with Squirt recently. I've been on a big Squirt. Maybe not Surge though.
All the juicy coughs. Gives you the squirts.
So one thing that has been discussed about many things about the difference between whether the Earth's flat or a globe would be how the sun is seen from the surface of the Earth, and its path across the sky would be different depending on where you are on the Earth. One very significant place would be if you were in Antarctica during a certain time in the Earth's orbit around the sun, you would see what's called the 24-hour sun, where the sun is always in the sky 24 hours a day, because that point, the actual South Pole basically, is pointed enough towards the sun to where you would never see the sun go down. And that could only happen if the Earth was a globe, and you would assume that it wouldn't be seen that way, other people in other places of the globe. So flat earthers have always said, oh, well, the Antarctic Treaty of 1959 prevents civilians from visiting the southernmost continent in a bid to hide the true shape of the Earth.
To what end? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's... Yeah. So this was actually, I guess I should back up a little bit. This is a expedition that was put together by Will Duffy, a pastor from Colorado. They call it the Final Experiment. I don't think I would have called it that, but
jeez.
Yeah, don't say final anything.
There's some kind of final problem that they were trying to solve.
Yeah, not unless you're counting the names of God.
Yeah,
more on that as it develops.
So he took 4 flat earthers and 4 globe earthers.
You mean people? Globe earthers. So dumb.
He says, I created the final experiment to end this debate once and for all. After we go to Antarctica, no one has to waste any more time debating the shape of the Earth.
Oh, good.
So while most of the flat earthers didn't consider the experience definitive proof that the Earth is spherical, they accepted the existence of the 24-hour sun in Antarctica, a phenomenon that poses significant challenges for most of the flat Earth theories. So it seems like most of the flat earthers who went admitted that there is a 24-hour sun, but they wouldn't actually admit that this changed their view of whether the Earth is flat. Sometimes you are wrong in life. I thought there was no 24-hour sun. In fact, I was pretty sure of it. Duran Campanella, a well-known flat earther and content creator, said in this video, there's a video about it, I realize that I'll be called a shill for just saying that, and you know what? If you're a shill for being honest, so be it. I honestly believe there was no 24-hour sun. I honestly now believe there is. That's it, he added. What does it
I looked
mean?
at proof, and it proved correct.
Yeah, that proof aside, I still believe that the Earth is flat.
Jeez.
What does it mean? You'll have to figure it out. To me, it means that the AE, the azimuthal equidistant map, no longer works. But that doesn't mean I'm right, said Campanella. Others were more skeptical about the implications of the 24-hour sun, claiming that it doesn't totally rule out the possibility of a flat Earth. I know a lot of people want to know what my take is in terms of how does it work and stuff. Quick teaser, I have seen a physical demonstration that could show this working, but I do think that some of the data we're going to have from this trip will help to clarify if that is what's actually happening, said another prominent flat earther. And then at the end of this article, they note that if you're tempted to go to Antarctica yourself, the cost is $31,495.
Okay. Or you can just believe scientists and.
Well, yeah, at the beginning, they say that they went to end the debate over the shape of the Earth, although we're pretty sure that this was already achieved by astronomers from ancient Greece, the Islamic Golden Age, the Renaissance, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Well, maybe yeah, dummies. Cool, man. Well, still round.
Still round. Earth is still round. Or
Yes.
sphere.
Well, yeah, spherical, I guess. What's like the funniest ones to me are the ones that are like, well, the Earth is flat, but all the other planets are spheres. It's just the Earth that's flat. That's the one where I'm like, really? Have you heard yourself? What?
Yeah, all science basically unravels when you try to prove the Earth is flat, because everything else falls apart, and you have to have special pleading for every single other thing. All physics, like nothing
works.
The self-consistent model we have that is pretty well tested and proven. You want to make a big change like that, everything else is going to fall. It's connected to all these other threads that you then have to explain away.
Yeah, and it's like I could understand being like, oh yeah, them ancient people, they didn't know what they were talking about. We have astronauts that have been to space, turned around, looked at Earth, and been, yep, it's a globe, and then sent back pictures of it. Like, what else do you need? Whatever. People are dumb. Hey, I'm gonna go next.
Okay.
I'm calling this one. Never mind that noise you heard. Just because. This comes from Science Daily. It was published on the 2nd of January of 2025. Guys, it's been a quarter of a century since 2000. Study reveals that sleep prevents unwanted memories from intruding. The link between poor sleep and mental health problems could be related to deficits in brain regions that keep unwanted thoughts out of mind. This isn't a totally extensive article, but it does have some interesting bits in it. So let's see here. A new study published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, the PNAS, offers fresh insight in the cognitive and neural mechanisms underlying the connection between sleep and mental health. These findings could support the development of novel treatments and prevention strategies for mental health problems such as depression and anxiety. Functional neuroimaging was used to reveal for the first time that deficits in memory control after sleep deprivation are related to difficulties in engaging brain regions that support the inhibition of memory retrieval, and that the overnight rejuvenation of these brain regions is associated with rapid eye movement, REM, sleep. What does that mean? That means if you don't get a lot of sleep, then your brain goes, let's remember all the bad things. And if you do get enough sleep, the brain's like, look, we don't need to think about that dumb thing you did in 3rd grade. Let's just concentrate on the important stuff. So Let's see. Dr. Harrington, which is Dr. Marcus Harrington, a lecturer in UEA's School of Psychology, says memories of unpleasant experiences can intrude into conscious awareness, often in response to reminders. While such intrusive memories are an occasional and momentary disturbance for most people, they can be recurrent, vivid, and upsetting for individuals suffering from mental health disorders such as depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Given that memories play a central role in our affective perception of the external world, memory control failures may go a long way toward explaining the relationship between sleep loss and emotional dysregulation. A better understanding of the mechanisms that precipitate the occurrence of intrusive memories is vital to improving emotional well-being and reducing the global burden of mental illness. So, thank you, Dr. Harrington. So there was an experiment. Here's what the experiment was. They took 85 healthy adults who attempted to suppress unwanted memories while images of their brain were taken using functional MRI. Half of those participants, see, how do you get half of 85? Half.
Well, I mean,
little
you
people
cut them in half,
I guess. Half. I don't know. Half. That was terrible joke. I apologize. Half of the participants enjoyed a restful night's sleep in the sleep lab before the task, whereas the other half stayed awake all night. During memory suppression, the well-rested participants showed more activation in the right dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, a brain region that controls thought, actions, and emotions, compared to those who stayed awake all night. The rested participants also showed reduced activity in the hippocampus, a brain region involved in memory retrieval, during attempts to suppress unwanted memories. There's not enough in this article. I want to know more about what memories they were suppressing and why. Like, did they show everyone a scary movie like the day before and like, okay, now don't remember the scary movie? Or like, I can't, the memories, they keep coming back. Like, I want to know more about this study.
Yeah, I it seems like this is one of those things where maybe it was part of like a much larger study. Like this is all self-reporting, right? There probably were a lot of people doing sleep studies while having a functional MRI happening, and they had a some kind of
cherry picked the certain ones or something.
Yeah, like they had a series of questions that were asked afterwards. Like, hey, did you attempt to, like, one of the questions might have been like, hey, did you have any unwanted memories you were trying to suppress during this time? Right? And
Yeah,
so
could be.
like it was probably part of a much larger longitudinal study, but that's what it sounds like.
You're guessing that you didn't find additional
I'm guessing.
Okay.
Yeah, no, haven't.
That's
a good question. We could follow through.
I clicked on the story source and it's pretty much the same. So there's Well, I mean,
I find it difficult to be able to like get any of this information without self-reporting, right?
Well, it definitely would have to be self-reporting, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, anything with memory.
You can't objectively look at someone's memories
yet. That'll be fun when we
There's
can.
so many good like sci-fi stories just popped in my head right there.
Name one.
What was that one with Wolverine guy, and it was like a film noir where he was always going to this one place where they would like make him relive happy memories he had with his wife.
Was it Tree of Life?
No, but that's another good one.
I never saw Tree of Life.
Oh, that's a good one.
Leopold and
Kate and Leopold.
Was it Kate and Leopold?
No,
I think I know what movie you're talking about, Ben. I never saw it, but I remember seeing previews and thinking it looked interesting.
It's an interesting film. It's not like great, but it was interesting.
And it had Hugh Jackman in it?
Hugh Jackman, yeah.
Okay.
Hugh Jackman, IMDb. I will figure this out. But
Deadpool and Wolverine. Is that what the one you're talking about?
It was Les Miserables.
Beautiful.
I'll
the
figure
Greatest
this out,
Showman.
though. Probably.
Uh,
Jeez.
Okay, just to wrap this up, among the participants who slept in the lab, those who spent more time in REM sleep were better able to engage the right dorsolateral prefrontal cortex during memory suppression, pointing to a role for REM sleep in restoring prefrontal control mechanisms underpinning the ability to prevent unwanted memories from entering conscious thought. Dr. Harrington said, quote, taken together, our findings highlight the critical role of sleep in maintaining control over both our memories and ongoing thoughts.
That's cool.
So, I
think I did see that Hugh Jackman movie because it's a more recent one. I was thinking of an older one.
It's called Reminiscence.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
It wasn't great.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Right.
It was fine.
Right.
It's fine.
It's okay. It's fine.
But yeah.
All right. Wrap us up, Ben. You got something future or now?
Yeah. So I filed this one under Note This. Y'all, you may not know this unless you've talked to me for 5 minutes at a time, but I like to make websites.
I knew that.
Some of the co-hosts on this podcast have directly benefited from my experience of making websites. And but here's the thing is that there are easy ways to make websites and there are harder ways to make websites. I've historically been on the side of learn your own coding, do your own, like purchase your own hosting, get your own, all that stuff set up. Because then you own it. If you use
but now there's Squarespace.
I was trying to find a way to do that. Devin got to it first.
I guess what you could say is that there are I think it's important for people to own their own website. I think that a lot of what we've got here from sites like WordPress, which WordPress blogs and sites that are run on it are great. That's wonderful. But they're also they also have a lot of vectors of attack for ne'er-do-wells that want to use get into your data and use your servers for weird stuff.
Okay.
All that being said is that I've been also really into static site generation, which is kind of creating a blog or creating a complex complex website that is run on your computer, generated on your computer, and then you upload your files to wherever it is that you're hosting it. Well, I found an interesting kind of another way of going about this, of having static site generation from your Obsidian Vault. Obsidian is a free app for note-taking that is basically just a way of looking at different markdown files in a folder on your computer. And it's once you start scratching at it, you'll realize that the people who love Obsidian and can't stop talking about it, namely me, and people like me, there's a lot that you can do with it. I think, Stephen, you've been using it for handling our RPG.
Yeah,
stuff,
I've used it. I've used it to keep track of RPG world generation. I've also been using it to take notes for other role-playing type things, because it's you can link between files super easily, and it's easy to use because it's just a big blank piece of paper. It feels like, until you put special coding on it. Anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take a lot to put special coding on it.
No,
and
it's super
because there's a lot of plugins as a plugin system that are a bunch of community members make different plugins that allow you to do amazing things with Obsidian when it's still just a folder of markdown files.
What's a markdown file? I don't know what that means.
So Markdown is a way of writing HTML that in a way that's easy for humans to parse.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, instead of making a heading type 1, which is just an H1 tag wrapped around like the text that you want to be the heading, instead of saying that, when you're writing it in Markdown, you put a hashtag and a space in front of the line, and that automatically makes it look bold and large like a headline would.
Okay.
And then when at the end of the day, when you look at this file and preview it, it's previewed as an HTML. The system knows, oh, hey, when I see that this hash space here is here, I know, take this line, wrap it in an H1 tag, and it's there it is. It's written the HTML for you.
And the HTML you want, because that's something that's more universally understood by programs and stuff.
Well, here's
teach me about the internet,
thing.
Ben. Start from the beginning.
Okay. HTML means
I'm getting a
hypertext markup
series of
language.
tubes.
Hypertext markup language is HTML, and and generally when you look at a website, you're looking at HTML that's made pretty by other and interactive by other languages, but really you're looking at HTML. Obsidian happens to be a website. The app is an app that is just like a wrapper around a website when you're looking at it. So when it uses Electron in order to make this thing. So anybody that's working on the Obsidian app, they're coding in the same languages that anybody could use to make websites.
Did you say it uses electrons?
It uses this
Sorry.
no, it uses Electron.
I mean, it better use electrons. What else?
Probably does use.
What is
Okay.
electricity?
Oh my God,
Daddy
Am I
Ben?
talking to an 11-year-old?
Daddy Ben, can you teach us about electricity? Sorry. So Obsidian has a
back
plugin.
to what I wanted. Yeah,
Yes.
Obsidian has this plugin that's called the Obsidian Digital Garden plugin. And the idea behind this is to make it really easy to set up and to maintain a website directly from the notes you already have in your vault, in your Obsidian vault.
Oh, okay.
So what's really funny is that, and actually I've made a site that I've been playing around with at ben.lawless.rocks, which is my Obsidian garden. It's my digital garden, and I'm using Obsidian, and I'm not coding it. Rather, whenever I make a folder or a file in my Obsidian vault, if I want it to be part of my site, I add a little bit of code to the top of the file, and then I tell Obsidian to publish it, and it just happens, and it remains linked to my internal notes as well as to any notes I have that are already published.
So I'm looking at your website here, and I noticed nowhere on here does it say amateur podcaster, and I take
Not
offense
yet.
to that.
You should. You probably should. It's something I've been thinking a lot about writing about that. But no, lately it's been about I've written a lot of articles about using technology to write poetry or edit poetry or perform poetry, as well as the design apps that I use. And then I've been thinking about, and this is like, part of it is eventually I'm going to come out with my third book of poetry. And wouldn't it be cool if I shared a poem every unit of time, like a day or a poem a week? And instead of just putting it onto Facebook where they own all the information, what if I made it a link back to a site that I had?
Yeah.
Maybe I want it to be an easy place to that I can easily update and change whenever I want to. And maybe I can just tie into where I'm already storing my poems in Obsidian and just tell it, hey, this is one that I want to go live. And so I'm kind of playing around with that too. This is the idea behind this site, and the digital garden is to work and figure things out with the garage door open.
What is
It's
that?
kind of how the idea here is that you can close the garage door and have all of your work that you're doing and you're figuring stuff out. If it's closed, that means nobody else is looking at it and they're only seeing the end result.
Oh,
But working with the garage door open means, like, maybe I'm hammering away at some ideas or I'm writing some stuff, and maybe it's really messy. But you could come along on this ride with me and I'm not really giving you an opportunity to give me comments or anything, but
But you can watch through that
Yeah,
garage door.
how important is it that everything is perfect and
Zero.
not messy? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, is it more important that a scene is created and that people are sharing in the artwork? Is it as important that the artwork is done and made as it is the hard work that went into it? I don't know. So I'm kind of playing around with it on this site. And if you would like to make one yourself, what's really nice is that the
For
instructions
the low price of $19.99.
Well, no,
Per month.
the instructions here are for you how you can actually do free hosting,
Oh,
like through Vercel or Netlify, and the website about the Obsidian Digital Garden plugin gives you step-by-step instructions. I followed them. It took me 30 minutes to get it all set up, and I was like, wait a second, like, do I need to be paying for my hosting still? I
Huh.
probably wouldn't put a lot of imagery on here, but for just text files,
I mean,
yeah,
there's got to be a
easy.
limit, because you gotta pay.
There are
Nothing's
limits.
free. You gotta pay eventually.
Yeah, there are
Everybody
limits.
pays.
You will probably hit them if you put a lot of images on here. But if you're just doing, just building like simple web pages like this, yeah, it's free up to a certain point, but like that point is pretty large.
Nice.
If you're kind of if you're smart about it. So yeah, I've had the lawless.rocks domain name for a long time, and I've been wondering what to put at the subdomain ben.lawless.rocks, and now I'm trying this. So it may not be around very long, but what is?
Yes.
So yeah, thanks for coming along on this ride with me, y'all. And if y'all are interested at all in having a way to share whatever notes you have about whatever you're thinking about, maybe you want to share the campaign notes you've got for the
No.
the
No
game
cheating.
you're playing.
No.
with with us, or portions of it, like you
Yeah.
choose which
Oh.
notes are published.
Okay. Okay.
I don't have my entire vault there. In fact, I've got like maybe 1/20th of my vault now on that website. But like it's like, oh, this would be good to put up there, and it's like, all right, it's very simple.
Nice.
So
So check out the show notes. There's links to ben.lawless.rocks.
and dg-docs.ol.dev, where you can get the Obsidian Digital Garden plugin and the instructions on how to do it.
Beautiful. All right, we are going to take ourselves a little break now because we're almost an hour in and we still have to talk about all 9 billion names of God. It won't take us that long. A couple weeks. So we'll be right back.
So obviously you like podcasts. What about playlists? If you go to patreon.com/sciencefactionpodcast, we have some custom playlists for you to listen to of music that we like. Patreon.com/sciencefactionpodcast.
And we're back.
Heyo.
Hey.
Hi.
And a big thank you to our patrons, Renee and Josh. Y'all are awesome. If anybody else wants to be awesome and join the party, patreon.com/sciencefactionpodcast.
I mean, being our patron means not only do you get to hear us complain about the streaming services, but also a healthy discussion about pee. So keep that in mind if you want to click on that Patreon link. Book club time, y'all. Ben, tell us what we're doing next week.
So yes, next week we're going to be reading the Ursula K. Sorry, I was not prepared to talk about this. That's why I'm frantically looking around for the tab.
It's
Ursula
there.
K.
Yeah.
Le Guin, her short story, "The Ones Who Walk Away from Amelas," from the Wind's 12 Quarters. That'll be what we read next time, and we maybe have read it before. I can't recall,
Yeah.
but we've at least talked about it on the show. So.
I know we've talked about Ursula K. Le Guin before. I think when she died, we talked a lot about her. But anyways, yeah, there's a PDF in our show notes if you want to read along with us. Yeah. This week, however, we have read Arthur C. Clarke's The 9 Billion Names of God. This was a very long story. Yeah.
Aaron. 2.
Aaron.
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 We all had the exact same joke. Oh, that's why we have a podcast, guys.
Yeah. Epic.
Oh, that's worth it, right? That's all we have to say. All right. So, let's see. The PDF that we linked to says, let's see, reproduce from Arthur C. Clarke, The 9 Billion Names of God, the best short stories of Arthur C. Clarke, 1967, reprint, New York, Signet. Okay.
Do you guys like Arthur C. Clarke?
It's fine.
That's cool, I guess.
Man,
I'm not sure
have
I've read.
been a huge
I don't think I've read
Arthur C.
any of
Clarke
his stuff,
fan.
really.
Oh my gosh.
I never read 2001: A Space Odyssey.
It was 2001: Space Odyssey, the novel that like just prompted a big rush for me to read Arthur C. Clarke after he was kind of my post Bradbury phase back in junior high and early high school. But I read all.
Sorry, go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Well, he also created. He got the patent for creating telecommunication satellites.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Like, yeah, this guy.
He lives in.
He's incredible.
Sri Lanka.
He lived in Sri Lanka. Yeah, and he's just
wow.
Really, absolutely incredible life that this guy lived. I read his biography too around that time. It's been 25 years since I've read it, but I read all of the 2001 books. There's 2001, 2010, 2061, and 3001. They're all 3001. I didn't like at the time. That's okay.
Tell us more.
But I am stoked that we got to read an Arthur C. Clarke story, and one that I had not read before. And so, yeah, like as someone I'm a big fan of Arthur C. Clarke.
I'm looking through. He's been writing novels. The first one, according to Wikipedia, was in 1948. The original version was called The City in the Stars, but it looks like it's also called Against the Fall of Night. All the way up to 2008, The Last Theorem with Frederik Pohl.
Right. So that must have been right before he passed away, because he passed away March 18th, 2008.
I wonder if Frederik Pohl finished it or something.
I bet. Yeah.
Wow. He wrote, let's see, The Light of Other Days with Stephen Baxter. He was writing with
I've got to read that one.
Yeah, interesting. Okay,
yeah, he wrote all the Rama, Rendezvous with Rama, and all the other Rama novels. One of my personal favorites, Childhood's End, is incredible. I definitely recommend that one.
The story follows the peaceful alien invasion of Earth by the mysterious overlords, whose arrival begins decades in apparent utopia under indirect alien rule at the cost of human identity and culture. Wow.
Yeah.
1953. There you go.
Right. With the advent of peace, man ceases to strive for creative greatness, and a malaise settles over the human race.
There's an Iron Maiden song about it.
Oh, rad. I got to listen to that.
Like all great books.
I only read books that Iron Maiden's made songs of. But with that, as soon as I was like, oh, an Arthur C. Clarke story, I was in it to win it. I was ready, and I was not disappointed, y'all. Spoiler alert, I like this one.
Yeah, this was interesting. So there's an author's note at the beginning of this that says that the title story was written for want of anything better to do during a rainy weekend at the Roosevelt Hotel. Its basic arithmetic was later challenged by JBS Haldane, but I managed to save the situation by alphanumeric evasions whose precise nature now escapes me.
Probably writing letters. Is that what that means?
I guess so. All right. So what is this story about? This story is great because it's about computers and monks.
Yeah.
Just like the
right.
best episode of Futurama.
Yes. Was that based on this?
I mean, I don't know for sure. It could have been inspired by it.
There's probably some inspirations there. Yeah. All right. So, well, Ben, you're a what are they called? Clark heads? What? You're a Clarky.
I'm a Clark buff. Yeah.
Why don't you give us the overview of what happens in this story?
So these computer programmers are approached by a Tibetan monk, by the Lama, to use to use their computers to bring over a couple of engineers to a monastery and make and give use of some computers. Well, the thing is that what the monks have been doing is they've been cataloging all the different names of the supreme being. So God, Jehovah, Allah, all these
and
man-made
so on,
labels.
it says.
And so on. Yeah. These man-made labels. And they want to find, like, by using a special alphabet that they've created, they want to find and print out all of the real names of God. So if they were to do it on their own, it would take 15,000 years. But if they have a computer helping them, it'll be able to be handled in about 100 days.
Man, computers are great.
Right. And this is, from the from the way that they understood computers in the 1950s, right?
Yeah. Magic.
Here they call them
Essentially,
electronic typewriters.
Yeah, exactly.
But the idea is that they basically the engineers get to work helping them out, and so
hold on. It's like as this is being explained to the engineers, they're like, oh, I get it. You're starting at A and working up to Z, and they're like, exactly. Although we're using a special alphabet of our own. So it's just
no letter is more than 3 times in succession.
Yeah, so they have like a couple of rules, and they're like, it'd be easier if the computer did it. Just like we say every day of our lives. There's an app for that.
Especially now, yeah.
Yeah.
And so then it jumps to they're about to complete the task, and the 2 engineers that have been assigned to this, they're in Tibet and they're ready to go home. They want to go, but they're starting to realize that, like, they've been there for a couple of months now.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, why are they doing this? Like, why would anyone want to know the names of God? And it turns out that the monks believe that when all the names are written down, that's the end of existence. Our existence will be done.
It's like that humanity, the reason for humanity is to find all these names. So once all the names have been found, all done.
Yeah, all done. We'll just wind it up.
Yeah.
And so the engineers are like, well, we got to get out of here before that happens, because what's going to happen when people who think that the end is nigh suddenly realize that they've been wrong? They're going to be pissed. They're going to, you can't guarantee how these pleasant and peace-loving monks are going to react when their entire system of belief is shattered. So they make arrangements to leave before the computer ends, and as they're getting onto their airplane to leave Tibet, overhead, without any fuss, the stars were going out.
The end.
The end.
I mean, that's quite clever. It's a fun little story, because it's like, hey, these monks who want to do this religious thing turn to science to make their religious thing go faster, and now reality's over. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's just it's a fun little story and a neat little like, yeah, just a little like, huh, how nice.
The
Like that real
conversations
easy.
between Chuck and George, the two computer engineers, like that kind of makes up the bulk of the story. And them kind of chatting about what's happening it's a fun little ride to go on and to see like their mindset and of the time, because this was published in 1952, so you kind of get that 50s kind of vibe about the whole thing, as you should. Yeah, it was a fun story. I liked it. It was short, it was like 6 pages or something like that.
Yeah.
It was good. I liked it. And as I was reading the story, I started to get excited because I was like, well, how's this going to end? Who's going to be right? Is it going to be one of those stories where like, oh, computations are over, looks like we were wrong, guess we'll have to start again? Or is it how this one ended, where like, oh, now the stars are going out, oops, all done.
Yeah, and to what extent? They could have just been like, oh, they finished it and then just end, and you have no idea which way it went.
The Sopranos
Or something
ending.
a little bit more ambiguous, like rather than the stars go out, like it could have been an earthquake. It's like, well, earthquakes happen naturally, so was that because of this thing happening or just a natural event? But the stars going out, I mean, that's been used in other sci-fi since then, like even in the Three Body Problem.
I was gonna say
happens.
Three Body Problem. That was a big like, haha, the stars are blinking out. That means something big is happening.
Yeah, it also happens in the book Spin, which is the beginning of a trilogy, which is a really good series of books. And it's just one of those things where it's a scary thing because it has to be something big to cause that. Does it happen in Blind Sight also? It might also happen in Blind Sight.
What is that? What's Blind Sight?
It's a book. I talked about it maybe like a year ago. It's about an alien race making contact with humans, but the first thing they do, and maybe it's not take the stars away, maybe it's adding more stars to the sky because it's like their probes. But anyway, the story is really about the group of people who travel out to the outer solar system to make contact with this alien spacecraft. And then it turns out that these aliens don't have consciousness, and the whole thing is kind of an exploration of whether consciousness is necessary for intelligent life.
So
I think that book is available for free online because there was an issue with the author and his publisher, so he just put the whole thing out for free.
Oh yeah, Blind Sight is
That's
available
cool.
under a Creative Commons license.
Yeah.
And at the according to Wikipedia, the very beginning of the plot says, in the year 2082, tens of thousands of coordinated comet-like objects of an unknown origin, dubbed fireflies, burn up in the Earth's atmosphere in a precise grid, while momentarily broadcasting across an immense portion of the electromagnetic spectrum, catching humanity off guard and alerting it to an undeniable extraterrestrial presence. So
Not
like,
taking the stars away, adding more stars.
yeah, adding more stuff to the sky that are then saying stuff to us. Oh, freaky. Well, obviously Ben loved this. I liked it. Devin, what did you think of the story?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a cool idea. I like the idea of applying science or technology to religion, when a religion is like, well, here's like a concrete thing we believe. And it's like, okay, well, that's testable. That's doable. Let's see what happens if you actually do it.
Right.
And then the fun part of, well, what does actually happen? And then you get this with the stars, and we still don't know exactly what that means. Like, the stars are going out. Does that mean that they're literally going out, like the sun's going to go out and we're just going to die? Or is this just a theatrical way for God to appear and then more stuff's going to happen? But yeah, just the questions it raises, and then of course, like I was talking about with the comparison to Futurama, where Bender gets lost in space and he eventually floats to a nebula that might be God, but then on Earth, the rest of the Planet Express crew is looking for him, so they go to these monks who use a telescope to find God in outer space.
No, it's not a telescope.
It's not a telescope?
It's a smelloscope.
No, I think they're using a telescope.
I thought they were using the smelloscope because that's like
No.
that's the joke. Okay.
Well,
What?
no, there is a smelloscope, but I don't think that the
Futurama
monks
isn't
are
really
using
funny.
it. I'm pretty sure the monks aren't using the smelloscope, but
Okay.
the point is, at one point, Fry says something about wanting to find Bender and how he's his best friend, and then the monk at the telescope says maybe the love in his heart that he feels for his friend is God. And then the lead monk says, "Oh, great, a theory of God that doesn't involve looking through a telescope. Get back to work."
Well, there you go.
Epic.
I tried to
So-
look up Smelloscope. There's a Futurama wiki. It tells all the episodes that the Smelloscope's been in, but I don't know what these episodes are. A Big Piece of Garbage, A Clone of My Own, Time Keeps on Slippin', Godfellas, The Butter Junk Effect.
Well, Godfellas is that
Godfellas?
episode.
Okay, well the Smelloscope was used in that episode, but I don't know. It doesn't say more than that. Just that it appeared in that episode.
I could be wrong. I just could have swore that you see them. Anyway, doesn't matter. I can figure it out someday. And
It's fine. Nobody cares. Let's move on. So
Go ahead and
what?
nothing. Don't worry about it. You carry on.
Okay. Were you whispering to your? Never mind. Okay.
Yes, I was whispering to my wife. I thought I was on mute. I apologize.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. I mean, whoops. I mean, I was on mute.
Looking good.
All right. I mean, whoa. All right. So Arthur C. Clarke's The 9 Billion Names of God. I think we've all the thumbs are up on this one. Check it out. It's worth it. It's a fun little short story. Fun and good.
or what they're actually using, which makes the most sense, is a radio telescope.
What are you talking
I
about?
think the monks are actually using a radio telescope.
Are you talking about Futurama again?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I'm looking at a picture from the episode where it's a huge radio telescope embedded in the mountains, and their temple is in the middle of it.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Here we go. During Bender's encounter with the god entity, Fry and Leela search for a way to contact Bender. His odor couldn't be detected by the smelloscope, and everyone tries to tell Fry to get over Bender, even bringing in Helper. Fry refuses to give up, blah, blah, blah. So they attempted to use a smelloscope, and it failed, and then that's when they go to the monks, who use a radio telescope like science would.
Yeah.
Oh, Futurama, you're so smart. All right.
And another, thing I was going to mention, the idea that I guess the purpose of humanity is to say all the names of God, and that's what triggers or completes our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of this really crazy philosopher named, what's his name? His last name is Mainlander. Oh, Philip Mainlander. He's like, he's really crazy.
Okay.
He died in 1876 from suicide, but I've heard his philosophy explained, and the more I've looked into it, it's not exactly this, but the idea that the point of the universe is God blew himself up so that he could die, because he couldn't die just being God. And so we have a duty to kill ourselves to achieve God's ultimate end.
Oh, I heard about this kind of via Scott Adams, the Dilbert guy, because he's got a book that I read once called God's Debris, and it was talking about how it's very unscientific, but it was like, oh, we are God trying to put itself back together. And points to a bunch of not really evidence. It's kind of silly, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I think I've heard Philip Mainlander's philosophy described in that way, and the more I look into it, that's a kind of a gross overgeneralization of his philosophy and not accurate. And I might even be confusing. I might have read it in a way where it was this philosopher also combined with other philosophies that have maybe taken that idea and changed, or taken his idea and kind of modified it. because I don't
okay.
see it from what I've read, and I haven't read his actual book directly, so I don't know from a primary source, but from secondary sources, I don't see anything that really says that. But Philip Mainlander was a very pessimistic philosopher, and did think that we are all supposed to commit suicide, and it did in fact himself do that.
Oh.
And his from what I can see in this article, it kind of comes down to these kind of premises that, and this is from the philosopher himself. Firstly, we all must come into existence. Secondly, we all have to experience pain. And thirdly, we all must ultimately return to nothingness. These facts constitute the essence of our being, and also the fact that any possible existence after death can only mean perpetual unhappiness. Life as such is not a good thing and needs no further justification.
Life sucks. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
It's just
I
one
just
of
like
those
the idea
days.
of trying to put that into like a logical, format, and then coming to the conclusion that, you know what, so just kill yourself. Really.
Yeah.
Don't, by the way.
Yeah, don't do that.
I don't endorse that philosophy. I just think it's interesting to read and think about.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fascinating. I never heard of this guy before, but he had an interesting story, life as well,
Yeah.
according to his Wikipedia article. Huh. All right. Well, lots to
Sorry, I
think
just
about
thought of that
from
when I was
this.
listening to this story, so that's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Well, I'm glad we all like this one.
Yeah. Good job, everyone. All right.
Good news, everyone.
Good news, everyone. The podcast is over. We're done here, guys. We did it. We had another week. We talked about stuff and had some laughs along the way, talked about suicide. It was great. It was a great episode. Devin said things that were frightening. It's great. It was wonderful. So that's it for this week. Stay tuned, because next week we'll probably be back. Unless we start reading more of this Philip Mainlander guy, then maybe only some of us will be back. Devin, do you have any final thoughts for us?
No.
All right. Ben, do you have any last words?
You ever wonder how Vietnamese and Indian restaurant owners differ? One is for profit, the other is non-profit.
Good night, everybody.
One will get the chapati started, and one will outright bond me.
Okay, that's enough out of you.
This has been the Science Faction Podcast. Tweet to the host at SciFact Podcast. Email them at sciencefactionpodcast@gmail.com and visit sciencefactionpodcast.com for more episodes.